In just 3 years, King Von accomplished what most rappers spend decades to achieve: a #1 album, sold-out concerts, and the ability to take care of his family. But it was never his intention. Music helped him escape a life of poverty and violence. But he was still new to the rap world, and unfortunately, he hadn't broken out of his old mindset of that of a gang member, which ultimately played its part in his passing. To understand how King Von became the person he did, we have to look at how he was raised. Dayvon Bennett was born on August 9th, 1994 in Chicago, Illinois. He grew up in Parkway Gardens, but you probably know it as O Block, after the passing of O.D. Perry. He grew up mainly with his mom because his dad was in and out of prison when he was growing up. In the late 90s and early 2000s, Chicago's gang wars were in full swing due to inequality, poverty, and police brutality. This led to the inner city suffering the most, with people losing loved ones to gang violence, drugs, and mass incarceration. We all know that our everyday surroundings have a powerful impact on our mood and emotions. So for any young boy growing up surrounded by violence and hatred, it's going to have an effect on how they think. This isn't an excuse for doing bad things, but you do have to take it into account. O Block, or Parkway Gardens, is a privately owned, low-income apartment complex located on the south side of Chicago. In the late 2000s, the Chicago Housing Authority demolished Randolph Towers, which was the base of operations for the Black Disciples gang. After the demolition, they relocated to Parkway Gardens, which at the time was Gangster Disciple territory. In the early 2010s, the gang violence skyrocketed and Parkway Gardens became the most violent block in Chicago. This is when Von was in his formative years and when his environment would have a huge impact on his choices. Between kindergarten and 8th grade, he was like any other kid, going to school and playing sports. He didn't start getting in trouble until he started high school. Von's first run-in with the law isn't well documented because he was a minor at the time. In an interview with DJ Small's Eyes, he said he was first arrested for an armed robbery and carjacking.
They locked me up for a robbery, armed robbery and armed carjacking. They say I robbed somebody to their car.
But the charges were dropped and he was sent to boot camp because of his age.
Back then? Right, they dropped the charges. They dropped most of them and let me go for boot camp. I was too young to even know what the fuck was going on. I just wanted to get out of jail, so give me boot camp.
He was arrested for the unlawful possession of a firearm in 2012. Around this time, Von got more involved with crime, but one of his childhood friends started rapping and made a pretty big name for himself. The friend being Chief Keef. Yeah. Von never admitted to have joined the Black Disciples. In the same interview with DJ Small's Eyes, he said, "You just hang around with people outside, or you just don't go outside at all."
You joined one?
No, I ain't joined one. You is what you, where you at? If you would have grew up, if you would have been born where I'm at, you would have had to be gangbang, just because that's what it is. Or you ain't going outside.
During boot camp, he received his GED, and after he attended South Suburban Community College, but he didn't stay long due to getting involved in the streets. Von didn't strike me as a person who would even entertain the idea of going to college. He's full of surprises. In 2014, Von was 19, so his arrests were made public on the Chicago PD website. On Tuesday, March 25th at exactly 3:05 p.m., he was arrested for violating his parole through street gang contact and was released 7 hours later, just after 10 p.m. On Saturday, June 7th at 6:40 p.m., he was arrested for a second time on 3 counts of criminal damage and reckless conduct. He was released the next day at 9:05 a.m. It was Tuesday, July 22nd at exactly 12:40 p.m. that Von was arrested and charged with 1 count of first-degree murder and 2 attempts. He was accused of killing 19-year-old Malcolm Stuckey at a house party and injuring 2 others who sustained gunshot wounds to the face and legs, but both survived. His friend Michael Wade was also charged with first-degree murder and 2 attempts. Now Von ended up spending 3.5 years in prison before taking it to trial, which we all know he beat because a witness failed to testify, and otherwise I wouldn't be making this video right now. But Michael Wade was sentenced to 28 years for aggravated battery with a firearm. The case eventually fell apart after Wade withdrew his promise to testify against Von. Von raps about his past life. In his song The Code, he references this story saying, "My homie lost trial, he'll be gone for a while. If he give up me, then they letting him go." Taking a case to trial is expensive, so either Von knew someone who owed him a favor or a really good lawyer. Or we can assume that Lil Durk helped him because in recent interviews, we know that they were friends growing up and they spoke during his time in jail.
We just started locking in real heavy. And then, I think he was going on prom. I gave him my watch to go on prom. He going on prom, he locked up the next day with it. So when he came out, it was like, oh yeah, we locked in.
After being lucky enough to beat his case, in 2017, Von moved to Atlanta and was living with Durk. Talk about landing on your feet. A few months after being released, he released his first song with THF Bezu, Beat That Body, followed by War With Us, which was his first song as an OTF artist. 2018 was the start of his on-again, off-again relationship with Asian Doll. His third song, Crazy Story, was a song that catapulted his career to another level, which led him to performing alongside Lil Durk. He dropped a few more singles, then in early 2019, he released his debut album, Grandson Volume 1. It debuted at number 75 on the Billboard 200. Around this time, Von met 100K Chiraq, who was managing YNW Melly. They got along, so Von signed a management deal with Chiraq. That November, he released Rollin', featuring Melly. Even though Von had made it out of a life of crime, his mindset was still stuck in the past. Lil Durk and King Von allegedly were involved in a shooting in Atlanta outside the Varsity restaurant in downtown Atlanta. They were charged with criminal intent to murder and gang activity. Just recently, the video of Von's 2019 arrest was leaked, of him being arrested in Chicago because he had an out-of-state warrant. Von was put on house arrest for the remainder of 2019 and early 2020. During his time on house arrest, he spent his time with his kids, writing music, and shooting videos, which were released alongside his second album, The Von James. He was able to end house arrest after getting a spot on tour with G Herbo. During his No Jumper interview, he said as part of his probation, he wasn't allowed to associate with Lil Durk as he was involved in the case.
So yeah, me and Durk, we only see each other like at court, if we got caught or some shit.
So even when you're on tour, you can't really be around each other too much?
Nah, we can't. Nah, hell nah.
Damn, that's fucked up.
Throughout 2020, he continued dropping singles like Why He Told, All These People, How It Go, and I Am What I Am featuring Fabio Foreign, all gaining huge numbers on YouTube. A lot of Von's early music consisted of dissing dead ops such as K.I., Tuka, and FBG Duck, who was a member of a rival gang, the GDs. In the summer of 2020, FBG Duck was murdered. Himself and Von had gone back and forth in their music. In a tweet, Von said, him and Duck squashed their beef before he passed, talking about bringing the community together for the better, even though he dissed his dead friends and family. This showed us that maybe Von's mindset was changing, because he wasn't in the same situation that he was when the beefs originally started. Maybe he'd grown as a person. The long-awaited Welcome to O-Block album was released October 30th, 2020, with features from Lil Durk, Moneybagg Yo, and Fabio Foreign, which peaked at number 5 on the Billboard 200 and sold 44,000 units within weeks. On November 5th, DJ Akademiks released an interview with King Von where he discussed his album, his beefs with rappers, and FBG Duck. Akademiks questioned Von about squashing their beef, not believing him. Von went on to say it was genuine and that the internet made their feud seem like more than it was.
How'd y'all start talking? Like, did you reach out? He reached out?
We went to school together, you know, this it ain't, they just make it look real crazy to y'all. These just really people we all went to school with.
He then went on to ask Von to stop dissing Tuka, who he dissed in a number of his songs, but Von says he no longer wants to disrespect him.
We just saying Tuka, man, that's what we say. No disrespect, Tuka. We saying Tuka, man. I be saying Tuka, man.
No.
Now it seemed like Von really decided to change the message he was spreading to people listening to his music, or he was playing us all to make it seem like he changed. Von went on to say that everybody was keeping him in a box, and that he no longer wanted to be the villain.
I'm trying to be positive, and this is what you do. You see what I'm saying? It's niggas like you bring motherfuckers down, y'all focus. Y'all don't want a motherfucker to be great. Y'all want to keep me in a box. I gotta be the villain. How long I gotta pay the villain? Like, how long? Like, when could I be the good guy?
November 6th, 2020, the day after his interview with Akademiks, King Von, his manager 100K Chiraq, and friends went to Club Opium in downtown Atlanta to celebrate his album release. He bumped into people he had some disagreements with, those being Quando Rondo and his crew. A fight broke out between the two groups. Surveillance video shows King Von punching a man from the other group. During the brawl, a member of the other group pulled out a firearm and opened fire on King Von, shooting him multiple times. He, along with 2 of his long-term friends, were killed. Timothy Leaks, aka Lil Tim, was arrested and charged with his murder, but since then has been released from jail on a $100,000 bond. In an interview after Von's death, his manager said that King Von wasn't in the right state of mind the night of the incident, saying that if it was a normal day, his life wouldn't have ended the way it did.
I guess it was a lot going on. You had Boss Top birthday, you had a lot of people from Chicago that he haven't seen in a minute, and it was album release, it was excited. So it was just so much things that you could just say that it was a little bit not normal.
Since Von's past, a lot of people took to the internet claiming he was a serial killer, the devil, a demon, and that he deserved to die. There's always been a conversation of whether or not it's okay to talk bad about someone after they've died, or make accusations because they can't stand up for themselves. Let me know what you think, because I don't agree with it. In 2021, Chicago police released documents stating that King Von was responsible for the murder of Gakirah K.I. Barnes in 2014, but wasn't charged due to the lack of evidence. K.I. was allegedly involved in the killing of O.D. Perry, King Von's childhood friend. The story has been internet folklore for years, with documentaries dedicated to the alleged story. March 4th, 2022, King Von's posthumous album, What It Means to Be King, was released and peaked at number 2 on the Billboard 200, literally this week. A supposed FBI document surrounding the murder of FBG Duck was released stating that King Von was the person responsible for Duck's murder, stating, "Blank offered a $50,000 reward to anyone who killed Weekly, aka Duck," and a short time later, Blank increased the reward to $100,000 and purchased custom O-block change for those responsible for the murder of Weekly. People are now saying that if King Von hadn't been killed, he'd be in a federal penitentiary for murder.